Sal Best.
Live when the mic snap.
Justin.
In the cut, bring the fight back. Windy City Talk, turn it down, that's that. Welcome to the show, it's Bulls on Tap. Bulls on Tap, pull it up, press play. Chi-Town Talk, we can run it all day. From the tip-off buzz to the post-game rap. If you rock with the Bulls, you rock with Bulls on Tap.
What is up, Bulls Nation? It's Bulls on Tap. I'm your host, Justin, a.k.a. J Talks Hoops. My co-host, Sal, a.k.a. Horns Over Hoops. He's off for the night, but I was lucky enough to get a co-host tonight. Welcome to the stage, Derek Briscoe. What's up, man? How's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, dude. I can't complain. It's an honor to have you on here because you're like the OG of Bulls on Tap. You and Mel, I think we all can agree that when you and Mel were running the show, that's when it was at its best. Me and Sal are just trying to live up to that. So it's good to have you on, man.
I appreciate you.
So let's just get into it, man. What have you been up to since?
I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, we're running with a little lag here. I'm not sure what's up with the connection, but whatever. We'll power through. We're both professionals. We'll get through it. But what have you been up to since you and Mel stopped doing Bulls on Tap? What's been new with you?
I mean, hey, nothing much, man. Just still rocking with the Bulls, still watching the games. I'm still in the Bulls Discord, moderating that and running the game day chat. So nothing's really changed except I'm just not in front of a camera every week.
How does not being in front of a camera change how you watch the Bulls? Is it a little bit more relaxing that you can just sit back and you can watch the games and you don't got to come up with takes? Or do you kind of miss being able to get on camera after a game and put your thoughts on it?
I mean, no, my takes are pretty much available in the Bulls Discord. Shout out to them because they don't like really censor me. So I'm able to put my real takes out there and my real thoughts on the management and the team. So
when you were doing the Bulls on Tap pod, did you feel like you had to kind of filter some of your thoughts and maybe not come off as harsh as you are now, where you can just, say whatever you want to say on Discord or on Twitter? Or has that changed at all for you?
Oh no, nothing's changed. I've always said exactly how I felt. I really never sugarcoated anything about the team, especially players like Subject 44 still being on the team and how bad he's played. So AK management, everything. I hope him on it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I always liked listening to you and Mel, because you always kept it real. Like, Mel obviously has like her own separate spin on things, but you're always like very blunt, saying, calling Patrick Williams Subject 44. Shout out to Guilty in the chat. He got a kick out of that too. But I liked how just real and authentic and raw you were about the Bulls, because we get people who are kind of real about it. They get painted as like negative Bulls fans. But the reality is, man, all of us, we just want the Bulls to win again. And you're about the same age as me. You can actually remember when this team was good.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with this leg. Like, I can barely hear it coming in and out.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's something on one of these ends, but we'll just keep powering through it here. But But so you weren't doing any podcasts or anything when all the trades went down, when everything the Bulls shook the roster up. What was your immediate reaction to just seeing that volume of trades from the Bulls? Because we haven't seen that from them ever.
I mean, I was like, this should have been done a year or two ago if they were going to pick that direction to prioritize direction and trying to get a top pick. And of course, if had they done it sooner, we probably would have got better returns for the players that we traded. Waiting until the guys are free agents next year, you're not going to get something substantial like a first round pick, or and even a better type of players. We got like what 5 guards out of those trades, and it's just like an island of miss roster, and it was like okay, but this should have been done sooner.
Yeah, I think we all kind of felt that way. Like we knew this team kind of needed to be blown up. I mean, even if you drank the Kool-Aid on that post All-Star break run last year, you still in your heart, you probably knew, at least Nikola Vucevic had to be traded, if not more pieces. Was there a specific trade that you liked out of the ones that we made? Like, what was your favorite move out of the ones that we made?
I think anybody knows my favorite was seeing Nikola Vucevic being traded from the Bulls. I was like, finally, for Anthony Simons, I'm just like, no, cool. The second round is pretty early, so it's kind of a late first. So I felt like that was kind of like the best return out of everything that we did. So yeah, Vooch being gone, that made my whole trade deadline day just off that.
I think that's two things that me and you bonded on over the years over Twitter. Was we didn't like watching Nikola Vucevic, and neither of us really denied that he was like a good player, because obviously he's a good player. We just, his flaws stood out so much and he didn't make any sense for the roster. And both of us, not big fans of Billy Donovan either. Those are like the two things that we've always kind of connected on. But with Vucevic, did it kind of make you laugh that his first 3 games in Boston, the Celtics fans were like, wow, I can't believe that we got this guy. And now if you've seen, the Boston side of social media the last probably 4 or 5 games, they're like, what the hell is this? Why did we trade for this guy? Has that been pretty funny to see?
Yeah, that's been pretty funny. It's their initial reaction. I'm like, okay, just give it a few games, and then you see like, oh my god, this guy is horrible on defense. Why did we get him? I'm like, yeah, that's what we were dealing with for the last few years. And like you said, Vooch is a good player. I mean, I think his flaws are a bit more covered up in Boston than they were here. Here, it just did not work. I remember initially being excited for the Vucevic trade when it first happened. I thought it would be a legitimate 1-2 punch with him and Zach, but then you added DeMar and kind of clogged up the middle, and it just never worked after that.
Yeah, it was definitely a roster construction problem. And in Boston, they got, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Jordan Walsh, Hugo Gonzalez. Like they got tough defenders to try to make up for his deficiencies on that side of the ball, where we really didn't have it. I was watching Celtics Hornets last night, and it was kind of funny watching the Hornets just target him and pick and roll after pick and roll. And there were a couple times, because now Kobe White's on the Hornets too, where Kobe White, he got switched onto Vooch. And you could see Kobe was kind of licking his chops, and he took him straight to the hole. How did you feel about the Kobe White trade to the Hornets?
I mean, to me, the Kobe White trade, it is what it was. I mean, if it was done sooner, then for sure you're looking at maybe getting a first round pick. But last season on this contract, he really hadn't played much because of the hamstring issue, which brought his value down even lower. I mean, we got something out of it, I mean, it was 3 seconds, and then because only the Bulls and their medical staff, we
Yep.
lose one of the picks because Kobe wasn't healthy and couldn't play after we just played him the night before we traded him for like 30 minutes. So it was like, okay. Colin Saxon, he's a decent player. I was surprised that they weren't able to flip him. I thought that would have been the initial move after trading for him, but instead, Billy loves his guards, so he's got a team full of 6'2", 6'4" guards to play every night.
Yeah, I mean, Billy can run. He can run 5-guard lineups now if he wants to. The roster construction. I mean, maybe not now because Ivy's out, Simons is out. Giddey might be out with that sprained ankle he had the other night. But it was a guard. It's another guard heavy roster. Another one where you're looking at AK and you're like, what are you trying to build here, man? My biggest beef with the Kobe trade wasn't necessarily the second round picks. It was, we got Ousmane Dieng in the deal originally, and he's, 6'10", young wing, maybe has some flashes, 20, 21 or 22 years old, something like that. And then we immediately flipped him for Nick Richards, who's an old big. And yeah, you could say we needed a center on the roster, but it's like we could have signed somebody off the scrap heap if it was really like that. Did you have any feelings of that Ousmane Dieng trade? Because when the Kobe trade first got announced, that was the piece that I looked at and was like, well, that's at least something coming back.
I mean, I thought he would have been a fit. We needed size. He was a young 4. Offer potential. He's definitely showing flashes in Milwaukee where he ended up going to. I think it would have made more sense for him to have been on the roster than to get Nick Richards, who doesn't fit the timeline. And it's like if you did all these moves to get rid of players to prioritize draft positioning, you really didn't have to go and get a center. Because that's going to help us stack some A's in better our draft position. And you could take a look at Ousmane Dieng and see, maybe he's a future piece.
Yeah, I know you've been following the Bulls probably even longer than I have, so you can respect a historical comp. I had this thought the other day. A lot of people don't know J.R. Smith was a Chicago Bull for about 5 seconds. We had Tyson Chandler on the team, and we traded Tyson because it wasn't working out. I think a lot of us knew Tyson was going to be a good player, but we knew it wasn't going to happen in Chicago. And he got traded, ironically, to the Hornets as well. And we got J.R. Smith back in the trade, and we had him for about 5 seconds, and then we traded him away for, I think, like a second-round pick. And that's kind of what the Ousmane Dieng thing reminded me of. Because Kobe, I love Kobe White, but it was probably his time to get traded in Chicago. And then, of course, you get some semblance of a young piece back. They trade him away. And then you've seen him have pretty good games in Milwaukee. Like, he's shown that three-point stroke in Milwaukee. I think he's hitting like 43% on 4 attempts a game in Milwaukee. So it's just a classic Bulls mismanagement of assets, but we're kind of used to that at this point. What did you think of the Ayo Dosunmu trade? I know, like every other Bulls fan, you were a huge Ayo guy. What did you think when that one came through the wire?
That one was the one that I was just like, why? I thought Ayo, you could have kept Ayo. Ayo, I'm sure, would have re-signed. Wouldn't probably have costed that. Ayo's from Chicago. He stated he wanted to stay in Chicago. He was like one of your team's best defenders. He well giddy, well modest, was young. And he showed improvement. He's shooting like 45% on threes when you traded him. And just like, okay, of all the guys that you wanted to trade, he was probably going to be the most team friendly to re-sign and bring back, and he fit what you needed. Especially if you want to run with Josh Giddey as point, you need somebody that can help cover him up a little bit on defense. And Ayo fit right next to him, and he fitted the style that the Bulls wanted to play with the fast pace. So that one was just like a head scratcher of like, what are we doing here?
What are your impressions of Leonard Miller so far? Because he was kind of a throw into that trade. I don't think we really expected anything out of him, but the kid's been nice for 2 or 3 games now.
Yeah, I like Leonard Miller. Of course, now when Jalen Smith and Subject 44 and those guys start coming back, the problem is we know Billy's not going to play him. And I think he's been decent in the minutes that he's played. He's a big guy, and we need size. So he goes out there, he plays big. He definitely gives effort on like both sides of the ball. Maybe his shot isn't refined for where he's a threat much on offense yet, but he definitely has the potential to get better with his shooting. And he's shown even still he can go out and get you some buckets.
Yeah, that's been the impressive thing to me is he's going out, he's getting buckets, he's playing with energy. He maybe doesn't have like the on-ball skills that you need to be a go-to scorer in this league. His shot, it needs a little work. It's going in at a surprising rate right now, but it just doesn't look as clean as it probably should. But if you took his motor and his heart and his hustle and you put that in like the body and skill set of what we think Patrick Williams could be theoretically, you would have a top 25 player in the NBA. So I'm excited for a guy like Leonard Miller. It's nice to see somebody with that kind of body because Patrick Williams has the athletic body type. It's nice to see somebody with that body like actually play hard and go after it. Like that's, I don't know about you, but that's been the best part about watching him for me.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, with Pat, he's got that body. It's just like you don't see that type of effort or that type of heart from him.
No, you never see any like there's no second effort from Patrick Williams, and that's been his whole career. Is like if he's driving to the hoop and the defender checks him, bodies him up, there's no second effort to get past them. If he misses a bunny at the rim, there's no second effort to try to get that rebound. If he gets beat on defense, gets blown past on defense, there's no second effort from him. Leonard Miller doesn't have that problem. So I'm excited to put a guy with a motor like Leonard Miller next to Modest Buzelis. What are your thoughts on Modest Buzelis this year? Because it's getting kind of to a polarizing point, especially on social media. You got some Bulls fans saying he's a future All-NBA guy, and then you got other Bulls fans that are like, nah, I'm done with this dude. He's not it. Where do you stand on Modest Buzelis?
I don't understand the people that are like, I'm done with this guy. His averages are up like this season. He's raised like pretty much every statistical category. I think it was a stat that came out last week where he's like the hardest player to score on in isolation. He's almost got 100 blocks on the season. His 3-point shot is improved. I think now we're starting to see him getting a little bit more freedom from Billy after the trade deadline. So you kind of see the potential of what he can keep growing into. I mean, it's only his second year. So people that were expecting like a superstar leap in the second year, that was kind of like off base and pretty much wasn't fair. But he's a good player. He's going to be balling. I'm not sure about all NBA because that's like a very special tier of NBA player. That's like a top 10 ish player in the league. And maybe he can get to that, but just saying like from 2 years that he's going to be all NBA, I think is still unfair. Just like people that were expecting the superstar leap from this year. But yeah, he's definitely a piece to keep building with for the team. Just gotta let Billy's got to let him have that freedom. Like let him shoot the mid range shots. Sometimes he has the potential to be a 3-level scorer, and you can't be a 3-level scorer if you can't take a midi.
That's true. That's true. I think with Modest, he's just a victim of expectation this year. Like you referenced the people on social media all summer who were expecting a superstar leap from him. Preseason, there were a lot of Bulls fans saying he was going to win most improved player. They were expecting, 20, 25 points a game from him. And those things might come down the road. But to expect him to do that in year 2, especially knowing how Billy Donovan operates his system, that was just highly unrealistic to me. So I'm still in love with Buzelis. I like seeing his game lately, especially that he's being allowed a little bit more freedom. The mid-range thing might have got a little overblown, but it was definitely a thing at one point where you could tell he was being persuaded to not take those shots. So it's cool to see him get in his bag and have a little bit more creative freedom going forward. If you had to pick like the archetype of player to put next to Modest Buzelis, what's the archetype that you would be chasing in the offseason? Would you be chasing like a defensive athletic center to pair with him, another ball handling, scoring dominant 2-guard to pair with him? What do you think they need to put next to him in order to bring out the most of Modest Buzelis?
They need both. They need an athletic center who is a lob threat, rim runner, good on defense. And then you need a 2-guard that can score. And it needs to be a big 2-guard, not like a where we're trying out Trey Jones next to Josh Giddey. We need a 6'6", 6'8" guy next to Giddey, more size, because we know we outmatched with bigger opponents. So size is like the number one thing. You need size in like all positions. Pretty much like how Cleveland is, where everybody's big. And it seems like that's where the league's trending, where they're getting bigger. And we need more size next to Modest, and Modest still needs to put on a little bit of size to take that next step.
Oh, definitely. Shout out to Samity in the chat. Main thing he wants to see from Modest is a leap in rebounding, assists, steals, and blocks. Basically show he can do more than score to affect the game. Totally agree with that. When you look at Modest, though, would you rather see him bulk up and be more of a power forward? Because honestly, I kind of like when they're lining him up at the 2-guard, they're lining him up at the 3, and they're letting him just be a perimeter-based player. I don't know if I want him to go the opposite way and be a full-time power forward.
No, at this point in his career, I'd rather him be like a wing. To me, he should take like the Aaron Gordon approach, where he started out as a 3, and just gradually, and later on in his career, with putting on muscle and weight, he became a 4. That should be like down the line for Modest to be a full-time power forward, but right now in the early stages of his career, he should definitely be a wing.
That's a really good comp, the Aaron Gordon comp. And Aaron Gordon, he's a good example of a guy where he came into the league. He was kind of skinny. He wasn't as skinny as Modest is, but throughout his years in the NBA, he's been able to bulk up while not losing any athleticism, because that's one thing we all can agree. Modest needs to put some size on, but we don't want him to sacrifice any athleticism. So I love that Aaron Gordon comp. That could be a really good template for him to follow going forward. Aaron Gordon, maybe with a little bit more shot creation in his game. And then we just got to get lucky and try to find our Jokic. So tonight we got the Suns.
I mean,
I was just gonna say tonight we got the Suns. What are you looking for when you're watching Bulls games this year? Because I'm on record, I'm saying like wins and losses don't really matter to me because we're not going to win enough games to make the play-in, and we're not going to lose enough games to get to the basement of the NBA. We're like ninth in lottery odds right now. We're probably not going to get past eighth if we're lucky. So to me, I'm just like, let me just see how Buzelis plays. Let me see how Miller plays. Let me see how Giddy plays. What are you watching when you're watching these Bulls games? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Exactly what you just said. Started tanking, if that's what you really call it, too late to catch the very bad teams, like the Wizards and Jazz type of teams in the NBA. And we're not going to the play-in, obviously, which thank God, because it's 4 years in a row, and the Heat again would not have been fun. But yeah, I'm just watching how Modest is doing, how Josh is doing. Been watching Leonard Miller because he surprised me, and I'm like, maybe he can find a role on this team. Rob Dillingham is another one I'm watching because he is under contract for next season. I think the season after that. So you kind of want to see what exactly the Bulls have in him. If Billy decides to give him an opportunity to see what he has, or figure out where he needs to improve. But if people are healthy, he's only going to get about 6 or 7 minutes a night.
What have been your impressions of we call him Bobby Dills around here? What have been your impressions of Bobby Dills? Because to me, every once in a while he looks good. You see that speed, and then he'll make like the dumbest turnover you'll ever see in your life. Like that one he had that went viral the other night where he somehow dribbled it behind his back and kicked it over his head like he was Neymar. I don't know. I've watched basketball a long time. I've never seen that before. So what do you think about Bobby Dills so far?
Yeah, that was wild. I've never seen something happen like that. It was like a perfect heel shot over the head, like type of soccer goal kick. But I mean, he has potential. He definitely has speed. I think he doesn't have control over the speed yet. So he has to learn how to change gears, like when to go fast, put on the brakes real quick, and maybe speed back up and get past his defender. Or he can't shoot. He has to develop a jumper, because he could definitely use the speed, stop on a dime, and be able to knock down an open shot. But he's got to work on that jumper, and he's got to work on controlling that speed.
Definitely. Shout out to Guilty in the chat. Bobby Dill Pickle. That's an ugly nickname. I don't know if I'm gonna rock with that one too much. As far as the Suns game goes tonight, it's a game the Bulls could easily win because the Suns don't have Dylan Brooks, they don't have Devin Booker. Are you gonna be one of those people where if they win, you're gonna be on Twitter, complaining about the tank, or are you just like whatever? We can't lose every game the rest of the way, right?
Yeah, unfortunately not. Like, you're definitely not losing every single game that's left. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bulls actually beat the Suns. I mean, some have been kind of up and down. I know they just got Booker back, and that helps them. But let's see if are Gideon Modest playing tonight. Has that been announced yet?
Last I checked, that didn't they were both still listed as questionable. So I haven't seen the official tag yet, but I haven't checked in about a half hour. So I hope both of them sit, not for any tanking reasons, but just because it's a pointless game in March, man. Why would we risk an injury with either of those guys?
Okay.
We got French Bulls fan in the chat saying Modest, Giddy, Smith, and Williams are officially not playing tonight. So that's good news. We're being cautious with injuries for once, which we haven't seen that out of the team all year. So as hard as it is to watch the Bulls without Giddy and Buzelis out there, because the product is obviously worse, from a health perspective, we should be sitting these guys. Let them heal up before you let them play. I'm not saying sit them the rest of the year, but there's no reason to play them after spraining their ankle 2 days ago.
Yeah, I mean that bodes good for not getting too many wins that we don't need. Oh, this is going to be an ugly watch.
Yeah, this is one of those games where you wish Noah Essengay hadn't got hurt, because he'd get 40 minutes tonight.
I still don't think Billy would have gave him 40 minutes.
I mean, they would have,
just because
they would have almost been forced to. Yeah, Billy doesn't like playing the kids, but he might have been forced to, man. That's my, like, I haven't had a lot of Noah Essengay opinions lately, because there's nothing to say. The kid's hurt for the year. You could say you think he's going to be good, or you think he's great, or you could say he's a bust. None of us know what he is, because we didn't get to see it. We got to see him. My only memory of him this year in a game was when we threw him in against the Pelicans and Zion Williamson bullied him, which I would expect Zion Williamson to do, because the man's a fucking rhinoceros out there. So what do you think about Essengay though? Were you high on the draft pick? Were you kind of meh on the draft pick? What were I don't think I ever saw your Essengay thoughts.
I thought it was kind of a typical AK pick. Long, athletic player, good wingspan, more so a defensive player, can't really shoot though. That's kind of been what AK's drafted. So I already knew like he was going to need some work, especially on the shot. Then with him being like, what was it, 18 and a half, 19 and a half.
Yep.
It was going to be a project. I just knew like it was going to be some time. He probably has potential. It would definitely take a few years to see exactly how good or how bad he would be at an NBA level. But I really don't have much of an opinion, like you said, because he got injured and we really never got to saw him play outside of like the G League. And I mean, anybody can kind of put up numbers in the G League that are decent players, and then they go to the NBA and you're like, why is this guy here? Yeah. So I don't really have an opinion because he really never played. And like you said, when he did get thrown in, he got thrown in against Zion Williamson, and that was like a death sentence for a rookie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the G League tape, I mean, some people will say that to justify like he's going to be good, but I mean, have we already forgotten about Carlik Jones? Because that guy was winning G League MVPs, and then the Bulls would call him up and he couldn't last 10 seconds on the NBA court. So anytime I see G League stats, I just automatically think about Carlik Jones and him winning a G League MVP and not being remotely an NBA caliber player.
Yeah, I like caught some slack over Carlik Jones a little bit, because I just like, as soon as he played, I'm like, no, get him out of here. He cannot play. Like, give him a chance. I'm like, nah, that guy does not have it at an NBA level. And like, I think it's because I called him trash. And I don't mean like he's a trash basketball player, because obviously if you can make it into like a G League, you're pretty good. NBA is a whole different thing. As a NBA caliber player, he was trash. And we had already seen it before with Antonio Blakely. I think he won G League MVP too, and he was like their top the scoring champion as well. And when he got called up to the Bulls in the NBA, he was terrible. And he's out the league. Carleek is overseas. I'm like, you can't get fooled by what these guys do in the G League. Right now, it's sort of like with Mac McClung. He's like dropping 30-point games down in the G League. You see when they call him up and he plays, he's scoring like 2 points, if that.
Yeah, shout out to Guilty in the chat. He just brought up a name that honestly it takes me back because Marko Simonovic, him and Essengay actually have a lot of similarities. Essengay comes from overseas. He has some impressive tape over there. Marko Simonovic was like the MVP of his league that he played in overseas. Bulls traded up to get him in the second round, and he would dominate in G League games. Like I would see 20 games out of him in the G League. And then he'd get called up, and the dude was just a giant stiff on the court at the NBA level. So it's like, if you're getting hyped for Noah Essengay G League highlights, man, I've been a Bulls fan too long. I've seen this game too many times.
Yeah, exactly. Man, bringing up Simonovic, Guilty. Oh, man. It was just like when he got minutes that were very rare in the first place because Billy, and rightfully so, Billy was like, nah, this guy's not ready. And we were like, well, he's on the team. We need size. Why aren't you calling him up to see what he does? And then he did, and we were like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, keep him down there in the G League. And I think he was like a full second round, right? He wasn't a two-way contract.
Yeah, he was a pretty high second round pick for the Chicago Bulls. I feel like if I remember right, they traded up to get him in the second round because they believed in him, and he was like a 7-footer from Europe who had size, had a little bit to his game. And I can remember that 21-22 season when we had all the injuries and we started playing Derek Jones Jr. at the 5. I was like, guys, he is 6'5". Can we not see Marko out there? And then Marko got a little bit of run, and I was like, okay, put his ass back in the G League, put Derek Jones back in. This dude can't play the 5 at all. So yeah, the Marko Simonovic, we used to call it Marko hours when we were wondering, like, when are we going to see some Marko time?
Yeah, I definitely remember Marko hours, and I think, yeah, like that's like a full second round guaranteed contract. That's the first time I've seen where they've just kept them mostly in the G League. Like, yeah, this guy is not ready, and I think it was almost like an instant regret of them picking him to keep him down in the G League as long as they did, and then finally just letting him go.
Yeah, it was rough. With the Suns tonight, one thing that I'm kind of paying attention to on the Suns side is I want to watch Mark Williams because I'm seeing some buzz from people on social media. He's going to be a restricted free agent this offseason. Most likely the Suns bring him back, but you never know with restricted free agency. And people are saying he would be nice for the Chicago Bulls. The biggest thing with him is the injuries. That's why the Lakers canceled the trade for him last year, as they saw his medicals and they were like, no, we actually don't want this guy. So with the Bulls training staff, that's a concern for us. Have you watched a lot of Mark Williams tape? Do you think he'd be a good fit for the Chicago Bulls?
I haven't watched a lot of Mark Williams. But based on his skill set, I think he would be, a good fit if he could stay healthy. And like you said, with our medical staff, that's like a super huge risk. Just based on what we've seen from our medical staff over the years, Io playing with like that separated shoulder for like 4 years, the Kobe recent hamstring thing. I just don't trust the Bulls medical. Yeah, I have no faith in Bulls medical.
Yeah, the list goes too deep of like Bulls medical malpractice. Obviously, we got Lonzo Ball, we got Zach LaVine, we got Javante Green, Io, Kobe. I mean, every time somebody gets hurt, the Bulls do the whole, we're going to reevaluate them for 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, we're still reevaluating them. We just saw this with Jaden Ivey, where they said we're going to take 2 weeks to strengthen his knee. And then what was it yesterday? Billy was like, we're going to take 2 more weeks to keep strengthening that knee. Do you have any faith in Jaden Ivey going forward? Were you a fan of that trade?
I saw the potential of maybe, he gets back to how he was before the injury. I think not enough time has passed for him to like fully recover, not just physically but mentally from that type of an injury. As gruesome as the broken leg was, it's going to take him some time. The thing is, where he said, I don't know if it was taken out of a little bit of context, where he was saying, the old JI was dead. I'm not really sure about that quote. It's just like, is he saying, he can improve on the old JI, or it's just going to take some time. Unfortunately, we don't really have time because he's a restricted free agent, and you got to decide, can he be as good as a player, or almost as good as a player as he was before the injury? Because you're going to have to pay him if you want to keep him. And
yep.
Classic AK. Go get a guy where you immediately have to pay him and you have to decide. And then, of course, with this leg being reevaluated and, he has to strengthen his knee, we really can't see the fit of him with Gideon Modest. And if that's a piece for the future, but come this off season, you got to decide, hey, I'm going to give him some money to stick around, or we're just going to go ahead and clear that cap space and hopefully use it to, lure somebody, maybe throw a bag at a restricted free agent and bring them in.
Yeah, I'm hoping, like, best case scenario to me is we just bring him back on the qualifying offer next year. Like, I want to see what the kid can do with a full off season to rehab and, just work on his game, because I've been saying since the start, it's an 18-month injury. That's usually how long it takes before guys start feeling, like themselves again. And with Ivy, the crazy thing is when you watch him, that athleticism is gone. And I've been seeing his Purdue tape going on the timeline lately, and I'm not going to say he was an athletic freak, but he was really athletic in college. He was really fast. He got to the hole whenever he wanted. And now that's gone. One thing I have liked from him is he does seem to be a good movement shooter. So you could see like potential for him coming off pin downs, coming off DHOs, coming off, different things in the half court offense, which the Bulls don't really run a half court offense. They just kind of roll the ball out and look for 3-point shots, but that's a different topic. So I'm hoping with the Ivy that we can get him back on another year. The one thing that scares me about him, it's the quotes, because, he's saying the old Jaden Ivey's dead. He's talking consistently about how there's bigger things than basketball, which, yeah, you're right. But like, I kind of want my basketball players to have a ball is life type of attitude, if that makes sense. And then just the body language on the bench. I don't know if you've picked up on that at all, but I've really noticed when he's on the bench, he's not messing with anybody. He's not getting up and dapping people. He's not cheering with them. He's sitting on the bench with his arms folded, kind of looking pissed. And I've had Piston fans in my comments when I've spoken about it on Twitter say he was that same way back then. So my biggest question is, does he like basketball? And do you think if let's say he really just doesn't like basketball, do you think it's worth it to still bring him back, or do you just cut bait at that point?
I think it would be better to just let him go. If he doesn't like basketball, then he's not really going to do the work that's needed to get back to the level that he was. If if he doesn't have that ball is life type of mindset, he's just going to accept the fate. Like, hey, I got injured. This is how I play now, and that's what I'm thinking. Maybe he still needs to recover mentally, because not only has he looked like slow physically, he looks like he's hesitating, and that maybe is affecting kind of his speed. Because he might not be comfortable trying to push it to a faster pace. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm no psychiatrist, so I can only give an opinion on how I've seen it. Like, maybe it's the mental part. I mean, we know players do suffer mentally from injuries. If you look at Derek Rose and his ACL, he'll tell you it took him a while to get over it mentally. So who knows?
Yeah, that's the part we always forget about is these guys aren't robots. They're humans. They got emotions. It's tough to come back from injuries mentally. So I'm hoping he does. I'm just saying the body language and the quotes have definitely been concerning. So we got 3 segments here. We go on tap or totally crap. It's a game we play here. So I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. If you agree with it, you're gonna say on tap. If you don't agree with it, totally crap. Then we're gonna go into our mailbag. So we got a bunch of people in the chat right now. If you guys got mailbag questions for us, throw them in the chat. And then we finish with random bull of the day. And you're from Maryland, so I think I got a good one for you that's going to take you a little bit by surprise. So are you ready to play on tap or totally crap?
Let's do it.
And chat, make sure you guys, interact with it too. Give it your shout outs too if it's on tap or totally crap for you. I didn't write these. My co-host Sal did. Shout out to Sal. He's not able to be here today. He's at work. But he wanted me to say, shout out to the Bulls on Tap fans. Huge thank you to Derek for being our first guest on this new era of Bulls over Tap. And shout out to Justin for making this episode possible. See you for the next round. And that's from Sal. So shout out Sal. He was in the chat a little bit earlier. But the first one that he has is on tap or totally crap. The Bulls draft the best player available rather than a position they need in the draft this year.
On tap.
Okay. You think they're going to go best player available?
Yeah. At this point, you still have to go best player available. Hopefully,
even if it's a point guard.
I was going to say, hopefully we got like a top 4 pick, and that kind of goes hand in hand with best player available and position. But even if it's a point guard at this point, you have to just accumulate the best talent that you can possibly get at this point, because there's no superstar on this team.
True. Do you follow the college game pretty closely?
No.
I'm like a casual college fan. People have been sending me that Acuff kid who's a point guard, but he looks nice. That kid, he's getting buckets at the college level. So I don't want another point guard on this team, but man, that kid, if you're sitting at 6, 7, 8, if he's available there, that might be nice. Guilty asked in the chat, Derek, who are you taking?
Yeah, hopefully we get the top pick. We get some lottery luck. Adam Silver kind of owes us. I'm hoping we get, AJ DeBanza or Cam Boozer. But shout out. What was it? French Bulls?
Yeah,
in the chat. Said it depends on who they think is the best available player, and that is definitely true.
Yeah, the Bulls' definition of best player available tends to be a little different than the consensus best player available. Our next on tap or totally crap. Ooh, this is a good one. On tap or totally crap. AK resigns at the end of the year.
Totally crap.
Yeah.
That Unfortunately, if you work for the Reinsdorfs, you're pretty much a made man without having to have much success.
Yep, that's true. I mean, shout out to Hayes over at Chicago Bulls Central. He pointed out like last week that I think he said up until like a year ago, Doug Collins was still on the payroll for the Chicago Bulls, and he hadn't been the coach for what 30, damn near 40 years. So it's like once you're in with the Reinsdorfs, I mean, John Paxson's still on the payroll. Are we sure that Gar Forman's not on the payroll still too? Did he go get a different job, or is he still lurking in those Chicago Bulls shadows somewhere?
Oh, yeah. So Collins was brought in as a special advisor, and you never saw him. And that's kind of the role that John Paxton now has. Gar Forman, I think, is a scout for the Pelicans. They did get rid of Gar.
Okay. Well, clearly he's doing something right with the Pelican scouting department because Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears, those are two nice young guys. So shout out to Gar Forman. I'm on record. I don't think the Garpax experience was as bad as people made it out to be. The last couple of years were a mess, but they still built a contender. So we got one more on tap or totally crap here. Once again, shout out to Sal for taking the time to write these out. On tap or totally crap, tanking is necessary, and every team should do it if they want to be better in the future.
I'm gonna say that's totally crap. Just because tanking does not always work. The Washington Wizards are a perfect example because they've sucked forever and they still suck. So, I mean, it doesn't always work because even if you do end up with the worst record in the league, you still might end up only picking 6th or 7th. You're not guaranteed to get that number one pick and that number one superstar that can help change your team. And even if you do get a superstar caliber player, if you don't build your team around him correctly, it's still like all for that.
100% agree. I think, tanking is a complicated conversation because it works for a lot of teams, the Spurs, the Thunder, the Magic, the Pistons. Like you can look at a lot of teams. My thing has always been, I'm not saying tanking is guaranteed to work, but I know that there's cases where tanking did work. I looked at what AK did the last 3 years and I'm like, there's never been a case of this working. There's never been a case of being 39 and 43 for 3 years in a row, keeping the same guys coming back, and just magically getting better. Like that has never worked in NBA history. So that was always my case for why we should tank is I'm like, I'm not saying it's going to work, but it's got to be better than this.
Yeah. I mean, at this point it was pretty much like, hey, either we're going to keep doing this and be stuck in the same position in annual playing games, or we can try to bottom out a bit and see if that brings us back up. So, I mean, it's a case by case thing. Like it works for some teams, it doesn't work for some teams. It just a lot of luck involved in it.
Yep, you got to get lucky in the lottery. We got a couple mailbag questions here that people submitted, and then we'll close out with random bull of the day. Shout out Samity. He asked, what are your thoughts on the Bulls trying to go after restricted free agents, guys like Tari Eason?
I am for it. I like Tari Eason. I think he would be a good fit. I mean, we're going to have all this cap space, and let's face it, we're not going to sign a superstar player like a Giannis or somebody outright. So at this point, your best bet is to, get a high draft pick and maybe toss some money at a restricted free agent that you think you can pry away from a team, and see how all that shakes out. I mean, it's better than just giving guys money just to give them money, like Patrick Williams.
Is Tari Eason your favorite restricted free agent target? Because we got Off the top of my head, the top ones are Jalen Duren in Detroit, but obviously they're going to match whatever offer they get for him. That kid's a young beast. Mark Williams, we mentioned him earlier. I think Walker Kessler is a restricted free agent, and Austin Reeves might be a restricted free agent. I can't remember if he's restricted or unrestricted, but is Eason your favorite out of those ones?
Yeah, I would say Eason is probably my favorite. I think it's kind of also maybe the most realistic. I'm not sure if the Rockets want to pay him that much money to keep him, especially depending on the number that we say, hey, we'll give you this. Like I said, he fits with the team, fits what they need. He doesn't have the health concerns like a Mark Williams. And Walker Kessler, it would probably be my second pick after that. He's definitely would fit the team as well. Big body player, showed that he can shoot, defensive minded. So if we got either of those two and a high draft pick, and maybe you do bring Ivy back on the qualifier, like you said, and he shows that he can get back to the caliber player that he was before the injury. I mean, like we said, it's going to take a little bit of luck, but hopefully luck is on our side and things start working out for us.
Yeah, the luck's got to turn around eventually, right? I mean, we've been dealing with bad luck for when did Rose tear his ACL? 2012. So 14 years of bad luck now. So it's got to flip eventually. We got another question. It's kind of a question, I guess, from French Bulls fan. Shout out, man. One of the best follows on Twitter for sure. The Giannis rumors always make me laugh. Why would he leave Milwaukee to go to a franchise who proved over the years they won't do anything to win a championship? Obviously, he's talking about the Chicago Bulls. Like, what would the Bulls bring to the table to convince Giannis it's his best destination outside of basketball? Did you ever buy into the Giannis rumors when they were saying the Bulls might be a target for him?
Not really. I know the Chicago reporter asked him about maybe eventually playing for the Bulls, and he's saying, yeah, sure. I mean, it's a great organization, and it was kind of just lip service. Saying what could the Bulls offer Giannis? You could probably have a potential to sell him on playing with a guy like Josh Giddey who can run that offense. But even then, reports came out, I think, yesterday where it's like Giannis doesn't want to play with a ball-dominant guard. He wants to, run the offense. So, again, that really doesn't work if you want him here with Giddey, and Giddey needs the ball in his hand. So, I don't see Giannis coming to Chicago other than when he's on the visiting team playing the Bulls.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm so sick of the Giannis stuff, dude. And I like Giannis. I read the Giannis biography that Amir and Fodder put out a couple years ago, and it was a great book, great read, inspirational story, all that. But this shit is so annoying now, dude. Every week it's something new with this guy with I want to stay, I want to go. And then you got the weird report that he doesn't want to play with a ball dominant guard. Well, good luck finding a team without a ball dominant guard, man. That's kind of the NBA these days. So I don't know. If Giannis became a Bull, it would be cool because he's good enough the team would be good. I mean, you look at the Bucks, you take the Bucks roster right now, you compare that to the Bulls roster right now, the Bulls roster is way better. So if you add Giannis to it, you somehow keep Modest Buzelis, you somehow keep Josh Giddey, you're probably a 6 seed or a 5 seed, maybe even a 4 seed. But I'm just sick of the Giannis stuff. Just make up your mind, dude. Decide what you want to do and leave us alone. We're tired of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
All right, so we're going to close the show out here. Random Bull of the Day. So it's a segment we close every show with. I give you a random Bull. You give me your thoughts on him, what you remember. This guy, you're not going to remember his Bulls days too much. I mean, I can't remember anything substantial he did in his Bulls days, but you're a Maryland guy. He's a Maryland guy. I figured let's throw him out there. Random Bull of the Day, taking it back to the early 2000s, Lonnie Baxter. What do you remember about Lonnie Baxter?
I remember the name. Like, I remember the name. I don't remember anything about him being a Bull. I think at that point, early 2000s, I was kind of checked out on the team. Because this is this is what, 2002, 2003.
Yes, I believe he was on that Maryland team that won the national title in '02. It was him, Juan Dixon, Chris Wilcox, Steve Blake. So I want to say he was a second round pick by the Bulls. He might have actually been undrafted too, because he was one of those classic big men where at the college game he was good, but in the NBA he was like 6'7", 300 pounds. So that just wasn't good. It was like Kenny Lofton before Kenny Lofton.
Okay, so like 03, he was probably a Bull. The 2002, 2003 season. Yeah, that was Jordan's last year in Washington. So I was more focused on MJ than even remembering seeing how Lonnie Baxter did on the Bulls.
Yeah, those were dark times. We did that on our last episode, the darkest times in Bulls history, because you know how it is on social media. People see us losing these games. They're like, man, it's never been worse. And I'm like, bro, it's been worse. Like, we had Lonnie Baxter on the team.
I watched that episode and I was like, oh man, he's bringing us some real dark times.
The darkest times. And shout out to Lonnie Baxter, man. He's a March Madness legend. That's what we're doing this whole month with the theme of Random Bull of the Day, is trying to get guys who are March Madness legends. So when I say like those were dark times, it's nothing on Lonnie. Lonnie was, a hardworking player. He was shout out to Guilty. Was Lonnie worse than Felicio? At least Lonnie didn't get paid, man. Felicio got paid, and I'll still never understand that. But Lonnie, man, a college basketball legend. Like I said, Maryland, they got the national title. That was a pretty fun team with him, Juan Dixon, Chris Wilcox, but just wasn't cut out for the NBA at all. And that was the Bulls in the early 2000s, stacking up guys who just straight up were not cut up for the NBA at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, shout out to Felicio for getting paid.
Hey,
Patrick Williams, the modern day Felicio.
Man, Felicio might have been the nail in the coffin for Pax. I mean, I know that Pax had to go up and tell Reinsdorf, like, hey, man, you got to fire me. I don't know how to do this anymore. But I think once fans saw Felicio get paid, they were like, all right, we gotta start making billboards. We got to start making banners. Like, we got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I essentially understand why they did it. It's still not a good reason. It's that, they had lost Omer Sheik because I think it was the Pelicans that offered him that poison pill kind of contract. And I think it's Felicio had played good for a few games in a backup role. So they were like, oh, we don't want this to be like the Sheik situation. Let's throw some money at him. And he was like the first signing in free agency. And we're like, what are you doing? And then he pretty much just was collecting free checks. Shout out to him from stopping Dwayne Wade from getting that triple-double.
That's his Bulls moment, man. He'll live in infamy for stopping Dwayne Wade from getting what would have been the last triple-double of his career, because that was kind of the last legs of D-Wade. So that is all we got for you guys at Bulls on Tap. Shout out to everybody who was in the chat, man. The chat was popping today. Both people agreeing with us and disagreeing with us. But hey, you can't make everybody happy, right? There's psychopaths out there who don't like pizza. So you're never going to please everybody. But shout out to Derek for coming on, man. Anytime we can get a Bulls on Tap OG on, we're always happy to have you on. Let them know, let everybody know where they can find you on social media, Discord, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, social media, Discord is Young Jordan. It's all the same. Yeah, mostly you'll find me in the Bulls Discord. Gotta get ready to run this game day chat for this game against the Suns in about 45 minutes. So, come through and, give thoughts on the game, thoughts on the team.
Hell yeah.
Anytime.
So we're gonna be.
Yeah, anytime you want to talk Bulls, I'm there.
All right. We are going to be back at Bulls on Tap on Sunday. We got a pretty cool episode lined up. First, I'm going to spend about 20, 30 minutes with a draft expert, Matt Babcock of Babcock Hoops. We're going to talk about all the top prospects. He's going to break down, the top 5, the sleepers, all that kind of stuff. So that should be pretty fun. And then our boy Guilty is going to come on and we're going to discuss, Bulls Discord and what it's like. All the stuff Guilty does on the side. One of the best Bulls fans out there for sure. So shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Derek for showing up. Take it easy, guys. We'll see you on Sunday.
Sal Benz. Live when the mic snap. Justin. In the cut, bring the fight back. Windy City Talk, turn it down. That's that. Welcome to the show. It's Bulls on Tap. Bulls on Tap, pull it up, press play. Chi-Town Talk, we can run it all day. From the tip-off buzz to the post-game rap. If you rock with the Bulls, you rock with Bulls on Tap.